Look, you should just buy this watch instead of getting a pilot's license. It's a lot cheaper and they're basically the same thing. Welcome back to Phil and Watches. I'm Phil, and today we're going to talk about the IWC 3251 UTC model. Why I think this is one of the coolest IWCs out there, why it's underrated, and why you should get this 20-year-old watch. So remember to like, share, and subscribe because I'm living with my parents at this time. Help me get out. Thanks. So this watch was introduced in 1998. About the time where the Explorer 1 gains a lot of its popularity. I want to highlight the Explorer 1 because I feel like they have a similar vibe, you know? Simple three-handers, black and legible dial, both have stainless steel case and bracelet, and they just look like brothers, like me and you. I'm assuming, of course. But one of these watches have a UTC function, help made and worn by my boy Kurt Klaus, legendary watchmaker. One of these still have a bracelet that is top-notch in the market, and one is actually exclusive and harder to find. So let's dig in. This watch has a movement that claps. It's a very good movement. Most movement that includes a second time zone does it by adding another hand, which you call a GMT hand, right? But I find that very difficult to read since you have two different handsets to look at and it's within the same dial, so you have to keep track of the 24 hours and 12 hours. I feel it is just messy. However, with this movement, you could just set your home time in the 24-hour rotating disc and jump the hour hand when you're flying or when you're in your local time. So the caliber 37526 is actually ETA base 2893 and has 42 hours of power reserve. It has 21 joules, beats at 28,800 beats per hour. In my experience, mine has a variation of plus 8 seconds per day, which is pretty damn good for this age. I think the dial is perfectly executed. Of course, I think I could do without the funky TZC in the 6 o'clock. It looks kinda too weird for me. I suggest getting the tritium version of this watch since it has a more beautiful patina when aged. I don't like using the word aged, it feels like I am describing something like cheese or beef or something. Anyways, I love the curves on the IWC font. Just look at sexy 6, 8, and 9. Those are some attractive numbers right there. I think the case is also one of my favorite parts about the watch. It has a diameter of 39mm, a lug width of 20mm, 13.5mm thickness, and a 60 meters of water resistance. Everything is nicely proportioned in this watch. As you can see on my wrist here, it fits like a watch should. It's a thick boy watch at 13.5mm, but I don't really notice it since the bracelet is so dang good. I'm convinced that 39mm is the perfect size for watches, so this one hits the spot right away. And with 60 meters of water resistance, you could just throw it in the laundry. Just kidding, don't do that. Don't do that. The bezel. The bezel is somewhat polished. You can definitely distinguish the finishing from the rest of the case. It's nicely done and makes the dial pop out more. The hands of the watch. The hands of the watch are your classic IWC pilot style hands. They're very legible, and with the patina, it really takes it to another level. Under the macro shots, you can see the imperfections though, the dust and the spots, but for a 20-year-old watch, that's not bad, especially with a service that could be cleaned right up. I think IWC is really underrated for its bracelets. It makes one of the best out there even since 1990s. The bracelet for the IWC is ahead of its time compared to bracelets of Rolex in 1990s. You could take out the individual links and find a perfect fit, and even to today's standards it's still very good. However, it does have no quick adjustment, so it could be uncomfortable for some time of the day. So this watch is actually It wears smaller than my Oyster Perpetual 39. The lug to lug is shorter, and the dial diameter is also smaller. I don't mind it looking smaller because bigger is not always better, right? Let's talk about the price of this one. Well, you can't find this anymore in IWC boutiques since it's been discontinued, so you have to find it in the interwebs. It goes around 3K on leather strap and 3.5K on bracelets. I highly suggest you get them both. The leather definitely adds to the pilot vibe of this watch. I didn't get it because it's expensive and probably won't fit in my chopstick wrist, Asian chopstick wrist. So if you got like a 7-inch wrist, go ahead and get a leather as well. Why not? Let's talk about the pros and cons about this watch. First, the handsome implementation of the time zone. It's great, I could read it perfectly, and it's just useful. It's very well made and easy to tell the time. The design is also top notch, simple yet elegant and sporty. The bracelet and strap of the watch is also very good and ahead of its time. The badge. The badge come with the fact that there is no longer production. And I understand some people are afraid to buy second-hand luxury watches. So yeah, there you go. It's also an old watch, so it might need some maintenance more often. The finishing is not as great as some modern watches, and the thickness might turn some people off. So who is this watch for? Well, I'm gonna tell you why I bought this watch. Well, I always liked the Explorer 1, I had one, but when I got the watch, I feel like it's missing something. I feel like it's missing an element of usefulness, right? I always needed the GMT function, and with that, I just didn't get it. And I enjoy wearing the watch, however, I just didn't connect with it as much. But with this one, I feel like it's very useful, it has this pilot vibe, and it's well made, and it has a great history to it. So if you like history, if you like the pilot aspect of it, if you like IWC as a brand, I think this watch is for you. So the question for this week is, how do you feel about IWC as a brand? I know a lot of people dislike it because they think it's too expensive for what it's worth, right? A lot of their Mark 18 movements are Solida based and they charge 4K or 5K for them. That could turn a lot of people off. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about IWC as a brand? Let me know down in the comments. Next week, we're going to be talking about a Sim watch, maybe.